Hey, I'm Aja A, and welcome to Sunshine Haze. Don't forget to check out all the links that I have listed down in the description box, and if you like the video, please give me a little thumbs up. If you have any questions after the video is over, feel free to drop them down below. I try to respond to everyone. And if you all know people interested in astrology, numerology, tarot, or whatever I'm talking about on this channel, go on and send them this link. And don't forget to hit subscribe. And of course, thanks for tuning in and rocking with me. May this info help y'all live your best lives. Peace. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. I'm Aja A. This is SunshinehazeCo. Thanks for tuning in. This is not your regular moon video. This is actually a part of the retrograde series. I finally caught up, but I've been meaning to get these retrograde videos up a while ago, but life comes at you fast, so what can you do but get them up while the energy is still there? This is the one that y'all are mostly concerned about. This is the video on the second Mercury retrograde of the year. And for those of you guys that don't know much about retrograde energy, when a planet goes into retrograde, it's not necessarily moving backward. It just stops and moves slower back over a certain point, over certain degrees. And the type of energy that it lends is it kind of stops and brings us back to kind of reflect and correct over certain things. So if you watch my videos, you know I say that all the time. Retrograde season, retrograde energy is reflecting and correcting. Mercury is the planet that governs our communication, it governs our travel, and it governs our intellect. So this retrograde period deals with reflecting and correcting in regards to the ways that we're communicating, the ways that we're processing and learning things, the ways that we're thinking about things in our perspective, and then also the ways that we're moving about in literally our travel. Mercury retrogrades about 3 or 4 times in a year. This year I think it's doing 3 retrogrades, and we are in the second one. What else, generally speaking, do I want to tell you about the retrograde? People have this negative notion attached to the word retrograde in the sense that it just comes in and fucks shit up, and it doesn't always do that. It can, especially the personal planets like Mercury and Venus and Mars. However, again, what I was saying earlier, reflections, retrogrades are all about reflecting and correcting. So if things are getting kind of chaotic or getting kind of crazy and kind of out of hand, it's just happening to show you, okay, this is what needs to be changed, this is what needs to be shifted. All right, so this Mercury retrograde started on July 7th, and it started in the fire sign of Leo, and it's going to be ending on the 30th of the same month in the watery sign of Cancer. Shout out to my Cancers. Also, it's important to know that we are also affected by this energy during the shadow period. We were dealing with the Mercury retrograde shadow during the end of June, and we'll be dealing with it throughout the beginning of July. So even though the retrograde may end or it may not have started yet, you will be feeling the energy dealing with the retrograde a couple weeks before and a couple weeks after, okay? So started in Leo. Leo is the lion. Leo is a fire sign. Leo is the sign of action and also showing us our capabilities. So, and Leo is also a fixed sign. So during this retrograde, we're going to be looking at and reflecting on how we've been making moves and our actions towards our goals. We'll also be looking at where we lack as far as our self-confidence goes, and how we're giving ourselves love, and how we are looking at ourselves and our place in the world, and are we happy with it, or what do we feel like we're lacking, or how are we beating ourselves up, right? Leo is also the look at me sign. So this retrograde is also going to be dealing with our outer presentation, and we also are dealing with the Saturn retrograde energy in Capricorn, and also solar Leo energy. So this is kind of all about how we're presenting ourselves to the world and how we're feeling, and are we comfortable with ourselves within, and how do we put that into alignment with how we expect other people to perceive us. So this Mercury retrograde is also going to be showing us how we're looking at ourselves, and how other people are looking at us, and making us see, okay, or making us think about, okay, people see me like this, is this how I want to be viewed? Or I see myself like this, is this really how I am, or is this how I want to be? And how can I get to that point? How can I shift this into a more positive space and a more positive perspective, you know? What else here? On the shadow side, I do like to talk a little bit about the shadow side when it comes to retrograde energy, because retrogrades can be a little chaotic, especially with it being Mercury. Leo can be very impulsive. It is fire. Leo can also be very very sharp and burn people with their words. My Mercury is in Leo, so I know about that 100%. And with this being a retrograde, you may be dealing with this inability to shift your perspective, or you may be dealing with impulsiveness in regards to the things that you're thinking of and starting to realize. But I tell people, the retrograde time is not the time to make the moves. It's time to kind of plot and reflect on the moves that you're going to make once the planet goes direct. So once Mercury goes direct is when you're going to actually want to start doing things in the physical. During this time is for you to think about what you're going to be doing in the physical in the next month coming up, okay? Also, just be very mindful, because Mercury does govern our communication, and I did talk about that on the shadow side with Leo a little bit. During this next month, just be very mindful of how you're talking to people, and then also just keep in mind that if people are kind of sharp and kind of rude, that it is this Mercury and Leo energy kind of coming over them, and try not to take it too much to heart, but also try not to be that person, okay? What else do I want to talk about with Leo? The retrograde started on an 8-day. 8 is the number that is associated with cycles, with karma, with infinity. And it's also associated with abundance and success. So this retrograde coming in the sign of Leo, starting in the sign of Leo, and really governing the way that we look at the world and the way that we look at life and the way that we make moves, we're really going to be looking at, okay, what chapters are closing? Why are they closing? What do I need to pull from it? And what chapters am I coming into? And what type of actions do I need to be taking once I find myself in that new space in that book, right? And again, we're in the retrograde, so you don't really want to be making the moves now, but you definitely want to be thinking about this stuff. Alrighty, this retrograde also started in 4 degrees, which is the number of foundations, and building upon those foundations into making them stable and making them firm. It's also a number of manifestations. So again, this retrograde period is a time for you to look at and look back at, okay, what do I want my life to look like? How do I make the moves to make my life look like that? And what do I need to, clear out and burn out? I also consider fire a cleansing element, a cleansing agent. It's not like water where it comes and washes it away, but sometimes you need that fire to come in and just burn everything up so that you have that clear ground, that clear space. And that's what this Mercury retrograde in Leo energy is kind of bringing in for you. So you're going to be seeing the things you need to move away from. You're going to be seeing, what you need to do to make yourself feel better about yourself and feel better about your place in this world. And you're going to be seeing what needs to be done to make people look at you in the way that you want them to look at you, okay? This is definitely the time for you to slow down and look at these things and get that shit together before Mercury heads into Leo again once it's direct. Before Mercury comes back into Leo, though, it will station direct in the sign of Cancer. Cancer is the crab. Shout out to my Cancers. I love us. Cancer is the sign of the crab. It's associated with intuition, with all the feels, all the emotions. It does carry that maternal, that mama energy, and it's associated with comfort in the home and feeling content within your own space. So this retrograde is also bringing in this energy to reflect and correct on our comfort levels and how we feel about life. Are we happy where we are? Are we happy how we are? Are we content with what we have? Do we feel like we need more? Do we feel like we need to change certain things in our spaces and within ourselves, right? We'll be thinking about that over the Mercury retrograde over the month of July as well. We'll also be looking at what is compromising our happiness within our homes and within ourselves. What's stopping us from feeling completely at peace? What's stopping us from feeling like we have everything together? What is making us feel like I'm not completely happy? What is holding us back from just resonating in that positive, peaceful, and content energy? And that is going to be coming up for you over the month of July. So for a lot of you, whatever spaces and foundations you're trying to bring in or you're trying to build upon, what's going to be popping up for you is either habits or either people or situations that are kind of keeping you from getting into that energy. And when these things come up, this retrograde period is a time for you to start figuring out how to work through that or how to get away from it, okay? Also, because Cancer is the sign of the home and it's the sign of the crab, Cancers retreat into their shells. So we may be dealing with the time to where we're not really hanging out with a lot of people or talking to a lot of people about our feelings or about their feelings like we usually are down for. during this time we may find ourselves wanting to be with ourselves so we can figure our shit out, which is completely okay. But what I will say with that, because that can also be a little bit of a shadow aspect of the Cancer sign, of Cancer energy, is do not just isolate yourself just to isolate yourself because you don't want to be around people. If you're pulling yourself away, there needs to be a reason. If you're pulling yourself away, you need to be doing work on the daily. You need to be meditating. You need to be journaling. You need to be, you know, taking walks or running or reworking something. Don't just isolate yourself and don't be productive with that space and that energy. If you're going to do that, you need to make sure that you're working something out, working on things, moving out the stuff that Leo energy is bringing up in order for this to be a productive retrograde period for you with this Mercury energy. Okay. Also, with this being the sign of intuition, what's going to be popping up for a lot of us during this period is, have we been paying attention to the synchronicities? Have we been paying attention to spirit? Have we been completely ignoring it? And if you have, certain things are going to be coming in to show you, to say, hey, knock knock, reminder, this is what you need to be doing, this is the energy you need to be coming into, or this is a synchronicity that you need to pay attention to, this is what you need to look into. And we're going to be feeling a pull to actually give a little bit more of our energy to those things. And also Cancer is associated with emotion, and because we are dealing with the planet that governs communication, I do think that a lot of us will be dealing with looking at how we are effectively, or how we aren't effectively communicating our emotions and how we feel about certain things. You may feel a little restricted, or you may feel like a little torn down in the way that you say things. People may not necessarily understand it, or you may feel like it's you against the world when it comes to talking about your feelings. But understand that that is retrograde energy, but this is a time for you to kind of figure out a better way to let people know how you feel, or to actually stop and listen and understand how other people feel when they're communicating with you. Okay. This retrograde is before I get into the numerology, on the shadow aspects of Cancer, we can be kind of moody. We can be emotionally manipulative. I'll say that this one time. We can also be very smothering, and I did talk about being, you know, introverts to a negative aspect. So those are energies that we could be dealing with during this retrograde period. You may be feeling like you want to be all hands in certain situations or in certain people's business, but you have to understand that you can't do that. It's time for you to work on you right now. Again, with all that emotional energy, especially just coming off of the Cancer solar cycle and getting ready to come out of the Cancer lunar cycle, you know, it's kind of like we're going to be coming out of the waves, coming out from being submerged underneath the water. So as we come out and as we start to understand our emotions, it's important for us to, like I said, effectively communicate them. Don't just lash out. Don't just start crying. Like, you know, if you're feeling a certain way, say that. Even if you feel like you can't find the words, at least trying to articulate it. The intention is there, and people at least understand that. You know what I mean? Okay. So also a little bit going into that manipulative energy. Whatever is going down, Cancer, try not to be shitty. We can be a little shitty sometimes, especially when we need something to work out for us. So just try to move in a very honest and a very authentic way. Remember, karma is very real. Okay. Now, talking about the numerology of this retrograde ending. It's ending on a 4-day, which again is all about stability and all about, you know, foundation, and all about coming into these spaces where our foundations are being cultivated and they're growing into something stable and something abundant. So with this being the Mercury retrograde, we are really looking at how we can build up these solid foundations, kind of the way that we've been thinking about things, and if maybe our thinking has been hindering the way that we get to these points. And then also going to be looking at how we lay the groundwork. And this retrograde is ending in 23 degrees, which is 2 and 3, bringing all things together, being able to effectively communicate, bringing in our creativity, but it breaks down to 5, which is all about change and transformation. So all the things that I mentioned in this video in regards to how you're feeling about yourself, in regards to how you want the world to perceive you and how you perceive yourself, into how you feel within your space and within yourself, if it's not working for you, if you're not vibing with it, this is definitely the time to where you see the changes that need to be made in order for you to get into a space to where you are just more aligned with your highest good and with your highest self and with your purpose. Okay. So with this retrograde ending in Cancer, it's kind of like we're wrapping up the last month of June, kind of tying all those pieces together, clearing out whatever needs to be cleared out. And with it starting in Leo, it's like we're bringing in, with that new Leo solar cycle and coming into the Leo lunar cycle energy, bringing in this new fire towards how we want our lives to look and how we want our lives to feel. I talked about getting lost at sea. And it's important to understand the lessons that are coming in for us and understand the changes that are coming in for us too. I always say, don't be your own obstacle. Don't be resistant to the change. And I do always also say, in order for shit to be different, you got to do different shit. Nothing's going to change if you keep doing the same thing over and over again. That is the definition of insanity, expecting different results when you're not changing anything in your process. Okay? So just take time to reflect and correct during this next month. The people that are going to be most affected by this retrograde are the people with their Mercury in Leo, like myself, or Cancer. If your Leo is also in 4 or 23 degrees, or either side of that, 6 or 7 degrees, you're definitely going to feel some shifts in regards to that Mercury energy. If you've got a lot of Cancer or Leo in your chart, or a lot of cardinal or fixed energy in your chart, or fire or water heavy charts, you can definitely expect for your life to be shifted, and you'll expect to feel it on a grander scale than most during the month of July. Okay. What else, guys? That's pretty much it. I am having a retrograde reading sale. You can get a reading on any planet currently in retrograde, including Mercury. I'm also having an eclipse sale, which is covering the Capricorn and Cancer eclipse, which this Mercury retrograde ties into that eclipse, into those summer eclipses as well. So if you're interested in that, go on and check out my links. You can go on and head over to my Etsy shop. You can also send me an email. I've got all that information linked down below. And yeah, you guys, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.